Looks like we're live. Okay, hey everyone. Hope you're having an amazing day and happy Friday, everyone. Hope you had a good week. It's sunny, finally sunny in Montreal. It's warm. I know that you, Marina, are in US. I'm not sure actually where you're exactly at, but yeah.
Lake Tahoe.
Oh, where is it?
I'm in Lake Tahoe.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I should visit it one day.
You should.
Yeah. Well, guys, yeah, so today I wanted to, like, as you know, like I like marketing and everything that's related to marketing or sales, like the business world. And today we wanted to dive a little bit deeper and talk about the change and talk about the recent events that are happening in the world, things that are happening, well, yeah, all around the world, pandemic, stuff like that, and what we should do right now, how we should use this time that we have, and what we should do in order for us and for the world to change. So I would like you, Marina, to introduce yourself once again, because you were, yeah, I interviewed you once, but I want people to know, those of you that don't know Marina, yeah, so basically, go on.
Thank you so much for having me here again. And, we always enjoy these conversations. There's so much dynamic here. Yeah, I'm a transformational coach. I mostly work with women, and I strongly stand for women's empowerment and the feminine leadership in the world. So that I'm actually excited about the time that we're in now. I think there's so much possibility and transformation and change that is happening, and really it's up to us to tap into our purpose, our hearts, our vision and clarity, and define what that change is going to look like for everyone, individually and together.
Well, yeah, 100%. And well, since you mentioned all these things, the changes, and I would like you to, I would say, give me your opinion on what's going on right now and how we can use this time wisely, how people can use this time wisely to, well, basically invest in themselves. That's what we were talking about on Tuesday. That's why we decided to have this interview.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I think, I'm going to dive into it right away, probably. I think, we hear and we know that this is like an apocalypse, what's occurring. And the definition of the apocalypse actually is the lifting of the veil. So there's so much exposure that is happening right now in the world. It's like the curtain is being lifted, and we see the real show. And we see the nastiness, we see the abuse of power, we see it all. We also see beautiful communities and conscious businesses that are thriving and coming together and supporting each other. And everything is just out in the open. So it's a very chaotic time. I see it as the storm is on. There's this big, tsunami or storm is on, and it's like I think everybody's experiencing a lot of stress, mental stress, exhaustion when we overconsume that media and we feel powerless to the big beast of what's coming. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and on a personal level, it's like everything is shifting very, very quickly. Now, of course, this time has been predicted in the world. So a lot of us that's been doing a lot of personal work, we are ready for this time. We've been prepared and we're ready. We've got all the tools because we have that knowing inside. This time was predicted by a lot of people in the past who even passed away. So this is a great time of change and transformation. And in these pivotal times, like, there was another financial crisis back in 2008, and that's where a lot of new businesses were born. Uber and,
Oh, yeah.
Venmo, like all those guys just, exploded, that's what a new shift, it took birth. So I'm also very excited about this time, that there's a
Yeah,
lot of opportunities here.
absolutely. Since you mentioned the crisis of 2008 and all those businesses that exploded because of that, I'm not sure if you heard about the latest news. Zoom was evaluated as a $47 billion company. So if we're gonna take, yeah, if we're gonna take all the biggest seven airline companies in US, Their value is 46.5 billion. Zoom overpassed all the seven biggest companies, which is crazy. It's just one company.
Absolutely.
So these
Absolutely.
guys were ready.
Yeah. 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 That's what I'm saying. There's there's a lot of opportunities. There's a question of preparation, knowing your gifts, and you know, yeah, what we're good at, the expertise too. And then I think thriving businesses, they thrive on problems and they create solutions. Right? Zoom was the
Oh yeah.
solution to this whole social isolation for us. So there
Oh
you go.
yeah. 100%. Yeah. It's like we have other apps like Skype, like Webinar Jam. Well, look, I guess those guys weren't ready for these changes, and Zoom had all the infrastructure, and well, they got the market.
Yeah,
That's yeah. You have to be ready. There's no other choice.
that's it. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about? I know that it's a hot topic, but all the recent events that are going on in US right now, that started a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I guess. It was yeah. It's been already 2 weeks. Time flies like crazy.
Memorial Day. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, I think again, it's the lifting of the veil. It's nothing new. It's not that it hasn't been there, but it's definitely the lifting of the veil that is happening. Um, and it's, it goes from injustice to standing for something that's right, that was wrong. I think it goes back to, for me personally, I'll speak about, how I'm experiencing it, is I went through a whole spectrum of emotions because like I've never experienced, of course, like, anything like that. Like, yeah, I was an immigrant to the country, and at some point I was a minority in my classroom or stuff, but it's not even close to the proportions of what people of color are experiencing. But there's this whole, piece of judgment and um, isolation and being like what's going on there, and it goes back to ignorance, I think. And I mean ignorance in a good sense, not like pointing fingers. We are, consciously being ignorant here, but it's this unconscious ignorance. It's like, oh my God, I did not even know what is fully going on, to what extent, and how, what's the perspective of someone, different skin.
Yeah.
So these days I'm really, I'm experiencing these different questions of like, I don't even know what I don't know yet. Like, I don't know how to approach this. I'm afraid to say something wrong, to use the wrong word, or use, something to offend somebody. So there's this not knowing, uncertainty that is happening. Um, and also like, what's needed? How can this shift and change? And of course, we're talking about it, and having these conversations is the first step, is bringing it into awareness and starting the conversation. But I think the change is not going to come from like just this interview or a talk that we hear, or a weekend protest. I think it's a shift that people, we have to commit to, both people of color and the white folks. We have to commit. It's like a lifelong exploration now,
Oh yeah.
conversation.
It's gonna take a while. We have 7.5 billion people in the world. I think it's gonna take a couple of maybe 100, 200, 300 years.
Well,
And
hopefully not.
no, why I'm saying that is because it's not only about uh, like the racism. Um, what I mean is all people like we judge each other every single day. I remember when I was in high school, we had like the tallest kid in our class, and we would say, "Hey, look how tall he is." We judge people by by the type of the car that they're driving, what they're wearing, how skinny or how I don't know how fat they look. So it's yeah, again, it all comes back to judgment, and I don't know if yeah,
Yeah, Absolutely. I love that you're naming it, because that judgment piece is actually, it lives in our minds. It lives in our bodies. It's like, you know, when you watch babies, they don't have that sense of judgment or separation. They have the sense of connectedness, interconnectedness with their emotions, their feelings, the way they express themselves, and their bodies as well. As we grow up, we learn to numb some of those things, and we learn to separate. This is okay, this is not okay. And the separation causes judgment, but first the judgment, happens over here, and then it extends. I think it happens on three levels. This changes, it happens on a personal level first, like within me, within my own, in between my
Mhm.
ears, within this brain, mind. And then it happens on, like, um, a two level, it within another person, community. So it's me and someone else. And then it happens on a collective. So the systematic, pattern of judgment or segregation and this and that. So right now I see it as, it's starting globally, collectively, but it's going to come back to the um, personal level, transpersonal, and the third, which is the collective. So it's like the chicken or the egg. It can start at home, it can start in the heart, it can start out, with a protest, but ultimately, I think it, it's like the Me Too movement with women. It's the question that I was asking when everything was happening. It's like, what are we going to do from here on? What actions are we going to take? Are we going to invest our money and support someone in something? Are you going to look into, like, who are you hiring in your business? Like from the Me Too movement, for example, I made a decision that I wanted to hire only women in my enterprise. Like I wanted to work mostly with women and support them, unless, I had to hire men and working together. But
So you did hire me.
well, I also like, and again, when I talk about this feminine, masculine energies, it's that the awareness of the feminine, the respect of all life. So, there's this notion of just inclusiveness and interconnectedness there. So, and that's, I think, what we're going through. Ultimately, the question that I'm asking myself is, what can I do physically? Like, what is the minor things, am I going to follow some people of color on Instagram? And am I going to, create more interviews and have women of color to collaborate with? Am I going to, again, invest, donate, money, support someone somewhere?
Mhm.
It goes back to action for me, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I like the when we had a call on Tuesday, um, you mentioned, so we were talking about the yin yang, and you mentioned that 1 + 1 = 11. So I would like you to cover that part because as I mentioned previously, I heard about the 1 + 1 = 11, but I never got into the details of this.
Yeah, it's a great concept where, you know, 1 + 1, we see them as individuals, right? Separation again.
Hmm.
But when we really come into that communion together, when there's true communication, and right now, psychology is showing that the communication happens on so many levels at the same time. So as I'm speaking, you're thinking, and I am thinking. So the information travels like that infinity sign, like that yin yang. So there's a part of you and me and you, and this whole interconnectedness is always there. So when we come from these individual units of one and one, my way, or this is what I want, and this is how I was brought up and how I see the world. And then, and then the individual comes with, well, this is my perspective, and this is what I need, you know? And then we can truly open up and have a dialogue and a conversation. Then there is this beautiful, it's metaphysics actually, when we are connected not just in our minds and agendas and to-do lists, but when we come from our hearts, there's this energy and synergy that happens. And then metaphysically, 1 + 1 no longer equals 2. It equals 11. It multiplies. So that's the power of the mastermind. I know you have a mastermind. I'm starting a mastermind for women next week. So it's beautiful because it's like my ideas and your ideas together, my wisdom and your wisdom gives birth to this whole new energy. which is mega creative, new creations, new possibilities, which are being born. And I think it goes back to the solutions, how the solutions are not going to come from the old minds. The solution for this particular situation, Black Lives Matter, for instance, it's not going to come from, a white man or white privileged man. It's not a one-way conversation. It's got to be a creative dialogue. It might not happen overnight. It might take some time to really unpack it and readjust. But there's this that's metaphysics. So it creates
Yeah, yeah.
a whole other energy, which was like unexpected.
It's interesting that you mentioned it has to be a two-way dialogue because, well, people argue. So some people take one side, the other people take the other side, and as there's a saying, well, we all know what every metal has two sides, and so every single argument,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's we literally need to reverse the side.
And we need to see that, like, I'm sure you see that in marketing too, and I experience this in marketing today, is that the solution no longer comes just from me and my mind. The solution actually comes from my clients, my customers, and my, circles. It's like they tell me what's needed. That's why all these surveys go out
Yeah,
today. Like, we're more curious about what do you need, and how can I come in and you become that bridge. And that's the shift that I'm talking about, and that is happening in this collective now, is the shift from me to we.
yeah, bringing the solution and being the problem solver, I guess.
Yeah, and the birth of the new. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited. But I also want to mention just one thing, Alex, as we talk about, the cause of Black Lives Matter, the white privilege, about the whole, also the COVID situation, and masculine, feminine, the Me Too movement, what was happening, and what I'm doing now is like women's empowerment. And when someone is empowered right now, it's like the people of color are being empowered, and it's amazing. And it doesn't mean that disempowering for the other party. It doesn't mean that women gain their powers and we're disempowering men. It does not mean that, Black people get empowered and they're just empowering the other party. So I
Mhm.
think the shift has to happen, that there is more than enough for everyone. And we really have to drop down. It's like, if you're more, it doesn't mean that I'm less. You know what I mean? It's like the
Yeah,
whole mentality shift that needs to happen also. I love to write these posts. And my post for today is going to be, there is more than enough for everyone. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to add.
absolutely. Well, it's interesting what I said, but a lot of, I think, well, I can see it based on the history. A lot of people are not willing to make that change.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how, I'm pretty sure you know Jim Rohn.
Of course.
I like his saying when he said, if you want things to change, you have to change.
Yeah.
And if you will change, everything will change for you. And that's what exactly people need to do.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
That's
And
something.
people feel it. Like, we feel it. We can feel the shift when someone is coming from ahead, or if someone is judging you, or if someone is coming to sell and they're coming with an agenda. You can feel that. And in psychology, we know that, the words that people speak are like a tiny, what is it, 16%? The
Mhm.
rest is energies, body language, it's, mimics, expressions, it's everything else. We know when someone walks in the elevator what mood they're in, or if they like you or not. I can tell right away, right?
Yeah, you feel that energy. Yeah,
We
you're
have to
right.
pay more attention to that, the state of our being, the energy that we are, you know, um, yeah, getting out there. So
It was a pretty good example. I just realized. Well, it's not that I just realized. I remember that I came into the office and I remember two people. Well, I came into the building and two people were standing there, and I could feel the tension. Like they didn't say anything, but I could feel the tension between
yeah,
them.
yeah. So like you're saying, and Jim Ron is saying, is like that shift has to come from here first. Again, that shift happens on that individual level first, and then that's how I communicate. That's how, and that's metaphysics. That's how life then comes and treats me right back. That's karma right back at us. And then on the collective level. So if we keep on our clear intentions and focused on what the highest good and the intention mostly of ourselves, our lives, our purpose, our businesses, then we thrive personally and collectively together.
Yeah, and it's all about bringing value. As Gary Vee keep screaming, it's all about value.
Mm-hmm.
Bring as
Yeah.
much value as you can, and people are still trying to sell. Building up those funnels. I mean, it is important. Yes, it is important to have the funnel. Just some people have like a short-term goal or short-term thinking, I guess, and others have like a 20, 30 year goal. That's why for them it doesn't really make any difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, it's all about value.
Yeah. And again, that's the shift from me to we, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We are in value, we're in we mode. If we are in sales mode, we're in me mode.
yeah.
And
What's in this for me, right?
right.
That's
Yeah.
what the majority of people think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. And that's we gotta that's what I'm saying. This whole separation and duality, it happens on so many levels today. Night, day, black, white, my business, your business, feminine, masculine. There's so many dynamics, yin, yang. We can go on and on and on. But here's the thing, it's we need both. We need both. We need value, but we also need to get paid to, make a successful living and keep on serving, right?
Yeah.
And we need masculine ways of, functioning and structure and following through, integrity. And then we need the feminine, the listening, the flexibility. So we need both. We need the people of color. We need, everything. We need to thrive. So that's what it's this oneness is that we need together there.
Well, as you mentioned on the last the last time when we had a call and interview, you were talking about the balance, and that's what I'm thinking about right now. Yeah, because you mentioned the black and white, yin yang. It is balance.
It's balance, and at the same time, it's got the contrast. Because balance, what's balance? It's beige. Life is not beige. Personally, I love color.
Beige? Seriously? Some people say it's gray because it's black and white. It's gray, right? I mean,
Great.
Let's say yin yang, right?
But it's beautiful to have the contrast, but not to judge. I think when we remove the judgment piece, and we can be, even for example, in a daily, in one's day, it's like we can be in the very masculine mode and execution and structure, and in the evening mode, you shift into more, flexibility and fluidity and decompression and dance, or whatever that is. So there is room for both again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Room for all of that. And I think actually the more we can be and embrace those two like opposites, but not judge them and flow in between them, the more expressed we are, the more alive we feel. It's like electricity. We need the positive and the negative. We need both of them.
Yeah, just like the battery. You're right. People need to accept it too. That's like a big part of it. A lot of them, they're simply, I guess it's hard for them to accept it. The ego, that's a big part of it. A lot of people have ego, which breaks a lot of, which ruins a lot of relationships.
Right.
But that's like human nature.
Absolutely. So maybe we can finish with that. Maybe we can leave our, people with 3 questions here, because you mentioned that ego piece. And in that duality, in that opposition, we often see the opposite as a threat, or as something that is like, interrupting my reality here. Right? It's intrusive. So we can also see it as medicine, as that gift. So whenever we're triggered, whenever there's something, that emotion, that like that tightness, or the reaction of like, oof, ow, not that, I don't want to feel that, shifting into curiosity. So we can ask ourselves, what is the trigger? What am I triggered by? What do I really fear there? What's at the very bottom of it? And what is it teaching me? What can I learn from it?
Well, these are great questions actually, and I think everyone should everyone should think about the answers, should get the answers to these questions. And well, I guess this would be like the perfect timing to finish our episode for today.
Yeah.
Well, I would want to say thanks once again, Marina, for being on the show, and I would love to have you once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's always fun to chat with you, Alex, and your audience. So thank you for having me. Let's remember the mantra that there is more than enough for everyone.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, bye bye, guys.